What's up, guys? TechStratic here with another look at some figures we got this week. Today we're looking at the GIJOE Classified Bradley Big Lob Sanders figure. This is one that I was very excited that they announced. There's so much about this figure that I'm super excited about. But of course, you know, I first thought that there was not a version released, but there actually was. The original figure was released as the 2010 official GIJOE Collector Club membership exclusive figure. So I'm sure that's a lot of money. And it was, you know, the 3.75 version. Then he again was released from the, let's see, he was released as another version, another collector version, I believe. So let's see if I can pull that one up in 2017. Yeah, he was another club collector's version. So that's really, and he was released and carded as a carded figure in 2017. So 2017. So that's really, really interesting that he was part of these clubs. You know what I mean? Now, of course, Super 7 did a Reaction Plus figure, but I'm not looking into that. I'm not collecting those. But, you know, it's really interesting that, you know, this was the only character in the GIJOE movie that was not released commercially. So that's very interesting. Little bit of background of Big Lob, you know, basically, you know, he's an athlete, obviously. Okay, I'm trying to look, looking at pricing for the original. So, yeah, I'm trying to see the more background on him. Of course, let's see here. Yeah, so 20 days later, I'm thinking about the core fans. So, you know, of course, he was part of the movie, and he did he was a big part of the movie. And like I said, you know, I'm not sure why he wasn't released, as a regular figure. Like I still don't understand that. But there, you know, the bio from the 2017 figure shows him. His primary military specialty is infantry grenadier, so he handles grenades, obviously. The secondary military specialty is special services. He was born in Chicago. He was one of the top athletes since elementary. So, you know, that's really, really cool. Like I said, when Big Lob makes a move, he always shoots for the score the big win. So yeah, so it's really cool. Like I said, like, you know, we're getting a lot of cool figures in this line of, you know, especially for the movie. I think we're complete with all of them. So we got Law and Order, we got Chuckles. Now Chuckles needs to come out with a movie version, which I'm sure it might be, because he was a convention exclusive. I thought this guy would have been a convention exclusive, but he's not. Came out of the regular series, so maybe we might get one. And then Jinx, I hope they do another version of Jinx. I hope we get a retro version of Jinx. I think we need another Jinx. And then Falcon, and we need another version of Falcon too. You know, the Night Force version was the best, but the other one was kind of crappy. But yeah, and it's kind of funny because even though I think about it, a lot of the figures from the movie line is coming. I think, you know, we just need Galabulus, and I think we got them all. So that's really, really cool. All right, as you can see, his standard packaging. He is very tall, as you can see, so I'm very excited about that. He comes with all this cool stuff, including a basketball in his hand, which is really neat, you know. Let's look at the side of the packaging, his attributes, little QR code here with his little portrait on the side. Very generic, you know, compared to the back in the day, or what they try to do with the Collector Club artwork. This one just looks kind of cool, kind of, you know, could have been better. But of course, his action, look at the action pose. That's really, really cool. Has his GIJOE sneakers and his basketball in the shot. So that's really, really cool. All right, so let's get this guy out of the packaging and get a closer look at GIJOE Classified Bradley Big Lob Sanders. All right, here is Big Lob out of the packaging. And I gotta say, out of all the figures in this wave, this one is definitely my favorite. I do like Night Viper. It's pretty cool. I like all of them. I think this wave is a really solid wave. Like, they did good. And sometimes, and I said this before, sometimes what they'll do is they'll release a wave and then the next wave sucks, in a sense, or there was some that were bad. But I've noticed lately, like, a lot of the figures that have been coming out the last year or so, all of them have been pretty steady. And like I said, the GIJOE team is expanding. I actually bought some more shells so I can put all these guys because there's just so many. But anyway, back to this guy. This guy I freaking love. I think he is definitely another contender for definitely my top 10 of the year. I got to say, I'm going to compose that list this year. I don't know. I feel I got a lot of views on the G.I. Joe one, but I didn't get that many on the other. I mean, I don't know. It's not about views. I'm just having fun with it, but still, I think I might just change that up. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, let's look at this guy. I always rant and go off talking about something else, but this guy is very much impressive. I love this guy. And actually, in a sense, I had to zoom out a little bit because he is the tallest G.I. Joe classified figure, one of the tallest G.I. Joe classified figures I've ever had. And actually, in a sense, like, if you put Nemesis Immortal next to him, he's actually taller. Big Lob is taller than him, so he is the tallest that we have. So, of course, basketball players usually are like 6'6", 6'7", they're huge. I mean, so, of course, he's a basketball player, I guess, or whatever. So, he's so tall. You're so tall. Anyway, let's look at that cool face sculpt. At first, like, I wanted him to have his original hair from the movie, but now that I look at it, this looks really good. He even has a fade on it. That's really nice. Look at that. Nice textures and everything on the hair. The face looks great. That's just, he's going to get all the ladies because he's 6'10". But look at that. And I always love jerseys on figures. This is really nice. You got that nice red. You got the G.I. Joe logo on there. You got a basketball signal there. Of course, this 14 does not line up as well. I guess because since you do that, well, no, it doesn't. Okay, so this might be the only problem. This 14 does not do well. So maybe I don't think they should have done an ab crunch, because maybe if you put it right there, then it fits. But yeah. But of course, you got the grenade thing over it, so it's going to cover it. On the back, you got the number 14 there, and you got his name Sanders. Of course, he's wearing a basketball jersey, so, you have to have that big number here. But this, I think they should have just put the number there and left that blank. But of course, jerseys normally have the big number in the front, so I guess. But I don't think I would have had a problem if the number was right here or even right there. I wouldn't have a problem, to be honest. But like I said, you're going to have this over it, so that's not a big deal. You got his arms, bare arms, muscular on their arms, no tattoos or anything. Here he has a blue band, and then here is his red band, no watch or anything. On the sheath, he has, there's a little walkie-talkie there, some grenades here, and then placement for, I'm guessing, his gun. I'm not really sure. We'll figure out what's going to go back there. Where's the box? I always put the box away when I'm trying to... I think maybe... I do see something that would go there, so we'll look in a minute. Going down, he has his belt, and there's a hoop there for something. You can put something there. Not sure what, but we'll figure it out. Oh, I know what. I think I know what. He's wearing these green pants. And then he's got his big old knife sheath here. And then you got a gun holster down there. So that's cool. So, and he's got the knees, no shoulder pad, no knee pads or anything, but that's the knees. And then you got, he's wearing white socks under his sneakers. Look at that. G.I. Joe sneakers. And there's, it does move up and down, but yeah, that's cool. You got the sneakers. I kind of wish the sneakers were like red so they would match the color. You know what I mean? Because that's what I do. Like I that's how I dress. I usually my shirt matches my shoes, or there's always something on the shoe that matches. Like I don't like to wear. That's just how I am, I guess. You know. You can see the white socks underneath. That's just pretty cool. No, this guy, and like I said, he's very tall. Like very lean, very tall. You know. I mean, he's awesome. He looks great. So those are the stuff that he comes with. So I guess he has a flare gun. So I'm thinking this is what goes in the back. Yeah, I think so. I think it goes this way, I believe. Goes upside down. Huh. Yeah, okay. Cool. And then his big knife. Look at that. This is huge. This is, God, this is, wow. Talk about getting some damage for somebody. And it goes in here and it fits perfectly with that black handle. Look at that. That's nice. And then he comes with a handgun, which I thought maybe the handgun would be bigger, right? But it's a little small. A little pew pew. So, you know, I honestly think like if he was in the video game Resident Evil, he's going to be using this a lot compared to that little pew pew. So he has a kind of like an open hand, you know, so that's really cool. Of course, on him, he has the trigger hands. But my favorite part of him, well, I'll do that last. Here comes a little grenade, and it's so tiny, but I guess you can just put it back here. Hopefully it doesn't fall off, you know. It's so tiny. I've lost a lot of little accessories on some people. And then look at his gun, which is really neat. I really like this gun. This is really cool. You know, it's, did I put that thing back on right? Yeah, I did. Because the thing fell off, the magazine clip fell off, so. Yeah, that's a cool gun. That's a really neat gun. You know, you can hold it with both hands. Really cool. But my favorite part is the basketball. That's cool. I didn't look at that. I like that. Oh, well, his fingers are kind of... Is that how you hold the ball with your... This one looks kind of crooked. Like, oh, you can move it, sort of. Must have got like that during... Yeah, okay, perfect. I was getting kind of worried. I was like, what? Look. You can move it, and they actually can see. So you can actually move it where it's supposed to be when you're holding the ball. Of course, I mean, you know, he's holding the ball with one hand because he has such a big hand. So that's really cool. I like that. I like the texture of the ball. It looks like a basket. It feels like a basketball. They did a really good deal on that. I mean, it's interesting. Of course, we got Mercer coming out, and he has a football. So that's really cool that we're getting these type of figures. I'm all for the sports stuff, you know what I'm saying? We just need someone that's gonna come with the baseball, you know. But yeah, let's get this guy on my turntable to get my final thoughts on the G.I. Joe Classified Big Lob figure. All right, here are my final thoughts on the G.I. Joe Classified Big Lob figure. This is definitely one of my favorites. I love everything about him. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we getting this guy in the line is cool, you know, because like I said, they're really going all out and giving us a lot of characters, especially characters that never been in figure form. Well, of course, you know, they sort of did it back in the day, but of course they're behind collector items or collector, you know, clubs and stuff. So there wasn't really a accurate, you know, figure made, which I was very surprised of. Maybe because of the height, maybe that's why they didn't make him. But anyway, to get him in classified form is awesome. I'm loving just the gun looks cool. I love the colors on him. The basketballs are a nice touch. You know, and I love the sneakers, and you can see the white socks. That's also cool. Just kind of little nitpicks. I think the jersey, considering there's that you know, forward ab crunch, I think the number in the front should at least just be above it or below, you know, even though that's not accurate for a jersey, only because the numbers just don't line up. Of course, that's if you put them without the shoulder strap that he has with the grenades. I mean, but I'll obviously use it like that. And then also too, I think you got to be careful not to lose that little grenade. And why does he have such a small little handgun, you know? But that makes up for his big rifle, and you know, him just being so tall. It's just hilarious how big this guy is. Just looks so great. So far, everybody's getting this guy. You can probably get him on Big Bad Toy Store. I'm not sure if Amazon still has them, because I noticed that a lot of them have sold out. So eventually they will. I mean, that's gonna happen. Of course, everybody wants to get their figures first. They're gonna get them first, and then eventually they come out later. So you know, if you just keep your eyes on, I'm sure you're gonna find them. And I think they're popping up at Walmart's. I haven't seen. I'm sure they'll pop up at Target also if you're in the mood to shop there. But yeah, you know, this guy is pretty cool. Like I said, what do you guys think of them adding this guy to the line? We just need, what do you think? Should we get some more movie figures? You know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, we will see you later.
Ladies and gentlemen,
make sure you like, share, and subscribe.